Wait, anyway.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was on Lake Michigan yesterday on, one of those boat trips, that go out of Navy Pier. And so it's quite relaxing.
Laura, you're clear now. I was gonna say, I can see your box there of everything.
Okay.
Good.
Sorry.
Good
Can you still see?
morning.
Okay.
Hi,
Good morning,
Jerry.
everybody.
Hi, Shannon. Good morning. Hi, Sharon, good morning.
Good morning.
David, good morning. Jerry, good to see everybody. Starting to welcome a lot of people in here this morning. Hi, Chris. Good morning. Hi, Jack, Maria, Jim, Michelle.
Hey, morning.
Good morning.
Morning. I wanted to let everybody know that we are recording this meeting, and the recording will be placed on the website along with a PDF of the slides and the materials from today.
Cherie, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. We'll give it a little bit of time here for everybody to log on this morning, and then we'll get started. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Amy. Brendan, glad to have you with us. Hi, Brandon and Bill. Welcome. Hi, Ted. Welcome. If everyone, Nathaniel will not be able to join us for today. So we'll be taking the minutes from our recording. So if you could just in the chat, please go ahead and place your name and the organization to which you are attending from, or yourself, your name. So we have that for our minutes. Hi, Victoria. Hi, Tom. Hi, Jess. Glad to have you with us. Laura, did you want to make any announcements before we get started?
No, welcome. I wanted to let everybody know that we're recording this meeting and we have a live transcript, and it will be posted on our website after the event, along with the meeting materials. Thank you. Welcome.
And for those of you that are just joining us, if you would please go ahead and put your name and organization in the chat so we can capture you for our minutes. And we are recording this session just so we can take the minutes and have it available.
And Elizabeth, do you mind if I just, I'd like to let everyone know that Chris Kessler is with us, and Chris is our relatively new Director of Government Affairs. I think it's the first time he's participated with Open Lands. So I just wanted to make sure everyone got a chance to say hello.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you.
Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
All right, well, let's go ahead and we will get started. So good morning, everyone. So glad that you took time to be with us this morning and all the efforts that you put forth for Chicago Wilderness Alliance. We have an exciting agenda today with lots of topics of the work, the great work that's been going on by all of our working groups and teams. And we're going to get everybody up to speed today and have an opportunity for discussion. So at any time, if you have a question, please feel free just to raise your hand or use the features of the reactions, and we'll be sure to call upon you so that this is engaging and we make sure that you have an opportunity to be part of today's meeting. So to begin, my name is Elizabeth Kessler, and I'm the Executive Director for the McHenry County Conservation District here in Northeast Illinois. And I am currently serving as Chair of the Chicago Wilderness Alliance. And what I thought I would do briefly here, if we could just go around the room here and just make introductions. So I will attempt to call, just if you could just kind of announce your name and your organization. So Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you. Chair's off.
Okay, well, hello everyone. My name is Jim Jarisol. I am with Nicor Gas, and I am the Vice Chair of Chicago Wilderness. And I should say that I'm going to be here at Nicor Gas for just another month or so, and then I'm going to be moving on to greener pastures. But glad to be here.
Thanks, Jim. Jerry Edelman.
Good morning, Jerry Edelman with Open Lands. Great to be with you all.
David.
David Schoenberg, member of the steering committee and president of the Riverwoods Preservation Council. Glad to be here.
Thank you, David. Glad to have you here. Jim.
Morning, everyone. Jim Anderson. I'm with the Citizens for Conservation, and I sit on the steering committee, and glad to see everyone today.
Ted Hafner.
Morning, Ted Hafner, landscape architect and head of the CW Climate Goal Team.
Glad to have you with us, Ted. Bill Miller.
Yeah, Bill Miller, TNC trustee and Northwestern faculty member.
Glad to have you with us, Bill. Good morning. Jason Navoda.
Morning, everyone. Jason Navoda, Director at Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning.
Terrific. Thank you for joining us, Jason. Victoria.
Good morning, Victoria Wittig, Northwest Indiana Urban Waters Ambassador.
Thanks, Victoria. Glad to have you with us. Charles.
Charlie Keppel, semi-retired from Davie Tree Experts in the Care of Trees. I was part of the original corporate council, and I'm getting back involved, semi-retired, and seeing a good place to help.
That's wonderful.
Thank
Glad
you.
to have you back. Thank you. Jack Brunner.
Hi, everyone. Jack Brunner with Tetra Tech. Good to be here today.
Thank you, Jack. Glad to have you with us. Patrick Williams.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Williams. I am the Director of Creative Services with Bull Bison Communications and Consulting. I'm a long ago CW alum myself, and it's great to see so many faces this morning, familiar faces.
Thanks, Patrick. Glad to have you with us. Tom Meehan.
I'm Tom Meehan. I'm the Vice President of Veterinary Services at Brookfield Zoo, Chicago Zoological Society.
Wonderful. Glad to have you with us this morning, Tom. Thank you. Drew, good morning.
Good morning, folks. Drew Hart with the U.S. Forest Service. I'm on the steering committee, and I work in the Urban and Community Forestry Division of the Forest Service. Good to be here.
Drew, thanks for being here. Glad to have you with us this morning. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Tim Brennan. I am with Farm Foundation and I'm the co-chair of the CW Agriculture Committee.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tim. And we look forward to your report on an exciting event that you've had most recently. Sharon, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Sharon Dewar with Public Communications Incorporated, PCI for short. Some familiar faces in here. Thank you for having me this morning.
Thank you, Sharon. Welcome. Jess Sanger, good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jess Sanger, a summer intern with the U.S. Geological Survey's Midwest Climate Adaptation Science Center.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks for being here, Jess. Good to see you. John, good morning.
Good morning, John Rogner here, Illinois Department of Natural Resources, and good to be with you all today.
Thanks, John. Glad to have you with us. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Michelle Uding, Grant Administrator with the Forest Preserves of Cook County. Kathy Garrity couldn't be here today, so I am glad to be here and see all of you.
Thanks, Michelle. Glad to have you with us this morning. Hi, Leslie. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Leslie Dorworth with Illinois Indiana Sea Grant, and I'm also on the steering committee.
Glad to have you with us, Leslie. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. I'm Amy and I'm with Friends of the Chicago River and I'm the planning draft specialist and here in lieu of Adam. So happy to be here with you all.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. Good morning. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning. Chris Kessler, Manager of Governmental Affairs with Open Lands.
Thanks for being here, Chris. Good morning, Brendan.
Morning, Brandon Hayes, founder and principal of Bold Bison. Yeah, looking forward to the conversation.
Wonderful. Glad to have you with us, Brandon. Brendan Power, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brendan Power. I work in the Office of Public Affairs for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago.
Glad to have you with us. Good morning. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, folks. Paul Botts with the Wetlands Initiative here in Chicago.
Glad to have you with us. Good morning, Andrea.
Morning, Andrea Kramer. I'm with Chicago Botanic Garden, Director of Restoration Ecology and a conservation scientist there.
Welcome. Good morning. Good morning, John Lake.
Good morning, everyone. John Legg here with Nature Conservancy in Illinois.
John, glad to have you with us this morning. Let's see who else. I've got some pictures here. I want to make sure I get everybody. Cherie, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cherie Fisher. I work in the research division of the U.S. Forest Service.
Glad to have you with us, Cherie. Durs, good morning.
Good morning, Durs Anderson with Open Lands. Glad to listen in on and participate.
Glad to have you with us. Patty, good morning.
Good morning, Patty Vitt, Lake County Forest Preserve District, and also Chair of the CW Healthy Landscapes Group.
Thanks, Patty. Glad to have you with us. Donna, good morning.
Good morning. I'm with the League of Women Voters, Lake Michigan region.
Glad to have you with us, Donna. Wonderful. Maria, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Maria Sadowski. I'm a communications consultant, and I'm located in Southwest Michigan.
Thanks, Maria, for all you do. Casey, good morning. All right, well, Casey, maybe that we don't hear you. And then Jean, glad to have you with us. Good morning, Jean.
Susie Schreiber, actually.
Oh, sorry, actually, here I'm looking to actually know better, Susie.
Yeah. No, that was, sorry about that anyway. Yes, I'm with the Waukegan Harbor Citizens Advisory Group and ancillarily watching or joining today because of an issue along the Winnetka shoreline.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I think I've gotten around to everybody. I wanted to spend a little bit of time this morning just to have everybody introduce ourselves. We've got a great group with us this morning, and again, if you could please put your name in the chat, we'll make sure that we've got you included in the minutes. But it's great to see so many people on the call this morning for today's busy agenda. So what I'd like to do is accept a motion to adopt the agenda as we have presented today. So is there someone interested in moving forward with that?
I will make that a motion.
Okay, Jim Anderson, thank you. Do I have a second?
Jack, second. Thanks.
Jack Brunner, thank you so much. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, today's agenda has been adopted. All right, the next item of business is we have the approval of the consent agenda. And on the consent agenda, Laura, next slide, please. We've got a variety of things here just to take care of this, and this was all in your packet ahead of time for your review. We have the acceptance of the treasurer's report for fiscal year 2022 for quarter 2 for April, May, and June. And thank you to Mike for all his work in putting that all together. We also have the approval of the Executive Council minutes for April 20th, 2022, and Nathaniel Pilo, who's been serving as our secretary. Again, great work on capturing all of that. We also have some modifications which were redlined that was approved by the steering committee for policy and procedures to be amended. And so we're looking for approval on that. And then amendments to the fiscal year 2022 approved budget based on some funding that's been received and some projects underway. And then we'd like to welcome a new member to incorporate into the Executive Council, the Old Growth Forest Network. So if I could have a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
I so move.
Donna, thank you.
Creppershaw.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is John.
John, thank you. Okay, any discussion on consent agenda items? Looking for any hands. Everybody good? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor, motion by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Okay, the consent agenda has been approved. Thank you so very much. All right, I am going to turn it over to Sharon Dewar from Public Communications, Inc. And she is going to present to you the work that she's been doing to assist us in launching our Green Vision campaign. As you recall, last time we were together, we engaged the services after a process of reviewing proposals to bring on a firm that would help us. So Sharon, please go ahead and take it away.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. So I don't, will you control the slides or will I have control? Okay, so we can just go to the next one, just to kind of give an overview of the work that we have been brought in, my team at PCI has been brought in to do to help the Chicago Wilderness Alliance advance your goals. We're looking to build messaging, communication strategies that will be measured by more members participating in events and activities, increasing awareness and perception. That's a little trickier to measure, just gonna put that out there. Measuring awareness and perception is challenging, but we're doing our best on getting a benchmark on that. And increase membership and participation of members and diversity of members geographically, racially, across the 4-state region. So those are the primary goals of what this plan will work to achieve. So we can go to the next slide and we'll talk about ways that we're looking at to solve for these challenges. So we started with this discovery process to really get a firm grasp on Chicago Wilderness Alliance, who you are, how you communicate out, who the group is, what you do, how to participate, what that looks like, what you're looking for from members, and what to better understand the members themselves. What are the motivating factors to be engaged? Why are they here? And what's in it for them? And what are obstacles for them to participate? If they aren't participating, what are some of the key factors that are prohibiting that? This is really important for information for us to have so that we can build a plan that's going to solve for these challenges. So we did this through auditing materials, looking through everything we could get our hands on that you're putting out to the public, you're putting out to members, whether that's the website or reports, newsletters, and some of the things that you've created over the years that you really lean into as accomplishments. We've done interviews with many of the Green Goal Vision leaders because a big part of the engagement was how to help launch this Green Vision and really use this as an anchor to kind of get more people engaged, to get people excited about this Green Vision. So really trying to wrap our head around that vision, where we're at, how to communicate it, and how can members participate in it. And we did a survey. We had about 138 participants in that, most of them from Illinois. I'm sure that's not a big surprise to anyone in this room. Of those who've participated, 62 of them are not currently active in any kind of a working group or committee. So it was really good for us to hear from those folks, especially because we really want to understand why they're not and what maybe would be a motivating factor for them. So this is where the work has started. If you go to the next slide, we're going to dig into some of our key challenges, and some of these challenges that we're uncovering through this process can be solved through communication strategy. Some of them may need to be solved through more organizational structure strategy. And so we're going to be providing a report that's going to, share what those are and where communications can play into that, and where maybe there's some other organizational structure that you might want to look into first or reorganize if those are hindrances to participation. That then communicating out what those changes are. But one of the key things we looked at from a communications perspective is there's really a lack of clarity and consistency across materials. It's really hard for somebody who's uninitiated, somebody who's new to Chicago wilderness, who's not been in it, and is not an insider, to go to your website, which is a first point of entry for a lot of people to an organization, and really understand what you do and how to be involved, if you should be involved, what that looks like. It's not clear, it seems like there's a message, you're welcome to participate, but no information about what that entails or if you have the skills that are valuable. So this can be cleared up through communication for sure. And so we'll be looking at all of the messaging and the presentation of information. There's also a lot of information. And so we'll be really wanting to look at prioritizing, and maybe the prioritization is the green vision and keep it very aligned to that. But there's just so much information that's being put out. It's hard to know where to go. There's no user journey for somebody who's new to the organization. And so this can be hard for new people to come in. And then what we uncovered mostly through the interviews and the surveying was some perception issues and or structural issues. Some perception of engagement, it's too time intensive. That was one of the primary reasons why members say that they're not engaged. If that may be true or may not be, we have to figure that out. And are there opportunities for different levels of engagement that, based on people's allocation of time, their willingness of time. Others were just that they just didn't think they had a specialty that was valuable. So that could also be solved in communications. If we look for diverse voices, we're also probably looking at diverse specialties, diverse perspectives, which means that we probably do want people who bring a lot of different talents and experiences in this region together. And so how do we better communicate that so people feel that what they bring is welcome and wanted? We're looking at some of the constraints of the name. With Chicago Wilderness, it's we have to work harder through communications to make it clear that this is not just Illinois, it's not just Chicago, in order to engage across the 4-state region. And we also found some inconsistencies in the name. Is it Chicago Wilderness? Is it Chicago Wilderness Alliance? We see it referred to in these different ways all over the place, and we're not even clear what is the name of the organization, and do we need to update the name to incorporate Alliance? And so those are other things that we're working through as well. Looking at the tone and the personality, the primary driver for all of the people who've responded through interviews, through surveying, is they're here because of this passion they have for conservation of nature in this region. And so does how Chicago Wilderness communicates out, does it, bring to life that urgency, that passion? And not right now, it doesn't. It's very factual, it's very matter of fact, but is there a way that we can just bring more of that passion that everyone's bringing to the organization out through communications. And then the member recruitment and engagement. When we're looking at how do we more deeply engage members, how do we bring in more members, what are the current marketing strategies, member prospecting strategies, and then evaluating the effectiveness of that or the lack thereof that needs to then be developed. So these are some of the summary of the key challenges that we've been uncovering through this process. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk about some of the opportunities of what we'll be doing to sort of solve for some of these challenges. And one of them right now we're working on is developing that message framework, so that we can bring some of that passion, that sense of action. Another perception that came up was there's just no action being taken. That seems to be an obstacle to participation because of a perception that it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of networking, all that's nice, but there's no action. And that doesn't seem to be reality. There's been a lot of things that have come out of this incredible organization. So how do we better communicate that and highlight successes and highlight achievements and actions? And so that message framework will help. We do want to align on a name. Is it Chicago Wilderness? Is it Chicago Wilderness Alliance? Align on that and then streamline what those priority areas are, so that we don't have just all the information that's ever been created, but very strategically toward those priorities and segment them by audience. So we know whether we're talking to peers, we're talking to the public. I say website overhaul, but it needs a lot of work to better communicate and engage. And refining storytelling, the elevation of successes will really help, because the perception is there's not a lot of outcomes from these meetings. There's not a lot of outcomes from this work, and that's just not true. So how to elevate those success stories and create a motivation to be involved. Everyone wants to be on the winning team, and we know that they're motivated by their own passion for conservation. So bringing that to life. And then developing those member recruitment, prospecting strategies to better engage, and overall looking at an update to those brand guidelines. What is the look and the tone and the personality of Chicago Wilderness? And do we need to update the logo to incorporate Alliance? Those are some of the things that we're looking at. So the next slide is just the next steps for us, and what you can expect. We are going to be sharing out first drafts of the messaging framework for the green vision with those goal leads to make sure what we're capturing is accurate, but also recognizing that there's still a lot of holes to fill. There's still some gaps in some of the messaging that we would like to bring to life, and a big part of that is how do people participate? What are the specialty needs of each one of these goal groups and these leads, and what are some actions that we can be communicating that we bring people into the fold that have those skills and have that area of need that would bring this to life. And then the overall messaging for Chicago Wilderness Alliance. That and a first draft of the communication strategy, we're looking to have ready for sharing out in the next 2 to 4 weeks. We will be looking and working with Laura and Elizabeth to help identify who the Chicago Wilderness Alliance marketing committee members are that would like to be engaged in this work, so that they can review, and then we can all meet and see where we're at, and really refine that strategy based on those inputs. And then prioritize what are the most important actions that that group feels should get underway immediately, and that our team can activate materials we can design or develop in advance of that Conservation Congress in early November. So those are the next steps. The last slide is just my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me at any time with any questions or information or thoughts. We really welcome any input as we're putting all of this together. so that's my update. Welcome any questions anyone might have.
Thank you, Sharon. So looking at hands, and I was going to see if David serves on the steering committee and is going to be one of the key individuals that's going to be helping to assist on this communications group. But any thoughts, feedback, reactions to what you've heard in this preliminary report by PCI?
Well, from my view, I'm surprised by the progress, and that's great. I think it's directionally going the right way. And I'm excited and hopeful to be part of this before the end deliverables are delivered. But this is great. I guess the question I would have is it realistic relative to Congress that we'll have our act together?
Yeah, it's a big question, to be honest. It will depend. There are some structural things we really need to dig into to understand. Some of the perceptions on lack of participation there don't seem to be roles and responsibilities in some of these working groups. There isn't clear actions that come out of them. And that, again, may be true or may not be true, or it may vary based on each group. And so we wonder whether there might be some strategic organizational work that needs to happen first, and then the communications comes second, and then we share that out. And whether all of that could happen in advance of Congress, or what parts of that would happen prior to Congress, that I think that remains to be a question.
I think that's fair. Unexpected. That's good. Thank you. I've got to jump, unfortunately, but thank you. Appreciate it, Elizabeth.
Thank you, David.
Sharon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
No, great feedback. And I think we had a consultant that worked with us last year, the Institute of Conservation Leadership. And one of the things I think that's clearly, it's our strength, but it also is very challenging, is our structural as a network. And so it's all driven of empowering everyone to come together in a more organic style, but yet, so it's not your traditional, and we're learning through August Ball and working through our Jedi journey of our processes and kind of flipping things of how we lead. And so we are in some interesting areas as we find our way. And so I think it's going to be some really great conversations as all these things begin to merge together and we come out to who we are and how we best engage not only those that have been with us, but new partners, and expand our reach.
Paul Botts, you have a question, your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I had really sort of, I guess, two comments. One is I just want to express strong agreement with most of the key communications challenges that you identified. And I think there's some of us who will listen to those and they're familiar, quite frankly, but they're difficult. They're difficult to solve, especially for an alliance such as this. So definitely agree with those. With one exception, I guess, which is what I would question, and I should say that the Wetlands Initiative, we are in the midst of our own journey along these lines. We are doing our first ever explicit branding and messaging overhaul and campaign. We're right in the middle of it. We've learned a lot, and I certainly feel like I'm learning all sorts of interesting things. And one of those items is you said that a website is people's first introduction to an organization. And I certainly would have said that 6 months or a year ago, but I don't say it anymore. We have learned that we have people who are fans and followers and even donors of the Wetlands Initiative who think they know the organization pretty well and who literally never go to our website and have no interest in going to our website. And so that is a thing that I wouldn't have guessed, and it is sort of completely non-intuitive to me personally, but it is seems to be the reality for a lot of folks. So that, and it's kind of good news, bad news in terms of what you do about it. It's got, you can look at it both ways, but so that's just a comment.
Thank you, Paul, for sharing. Jim Anderson.
Yeah, so Sharon, I wonder, in your interviewing process, did you select a group of people that may have no idea of Chicago wilderness or might have an idea of Chicago wilderness? And is that something that you were thinking about doing, or because it would be interesting to know if the normal citizen out there has ever heard of us. And, I had a conversation with somebody that was grant administrator on one of the big grants in the region, and she did not know of Chicago Wilderness. But I'm also interested in, and maybe this is something that we try to accomplish after Congress, because I know Congress is our focal point, but maybe there is some kind of effort to find out how well our message is getting out there, or maybe it's part of your effort to measure how far it's getting out there. So I just think that's an important concept for us to be thinking about. Everybody that is involved with Chicago Wilderness has a lot of information about it, but so just a thought.
Yeah, so for clarifying, the interviews we did was with the Green Gold leaders. So, and that's because so much of the focus is on launching the Green Vision for Congress. So we have to start there with understanding what the vision is, what their structure of their groups are, how do people participate, what are their needs, and then how do we communicate that out. The other layer of this is understanding who the audience and the primary audience of Chicago Wilderness Alliance is and who it should be. And for each goal, it's going to be different, but I would say, and this is all preliminary, but I would say probably a key recommendation we're going to be presenting is start with communicating and increasing awareness among your trade before you worry about getting forward facing with the general public. Because what we're finding is that even people who are members don't even really understand what Chicago Wilderness is. They might be members because their employer expects it, but they don't engage. And then there may be a lack of awareness with prospective members who work in this space, who would be a great group of people or an organization to bring into the fold who may not have awareness. And so we'll whether people agree with that or not, we're going to be suggesting that when you prioritize audiences, starting there and increasing engagement and solidifying the value and perception of Chicago Wilderness within those who work in this space before we look at putting the strategy to put it out more publicly. The other layer to that is what is the communication strategy for elected officials and those in public office, which might again come before you're going out to the general public and public awareness. But all of those are some of the what we're putting our heads together on, and we'd like to bring to the committee that's going to be focused on this delivery and what we do next. And so that's not for us to decide. We can make recommendations, but it will obviously be for the organization to make the final decision on the direction they would like to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Sharon? Again, so if anyone has an interest in serving on this working group, we've got some work ahead of us. We'd love to have you. And if it's not you, if someone from your organization that you have capacity that's in that marketing communication space, we would love to have them join us as well. So just let Laura know, and we'll begin rolling that out. That's our next phase as we journey onward. So thank you, Sharon. Appreciate the report.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Elizabeth,
Okay.
do we have a number of people that are on there now?
We have a few people that have identified, and through this survey, there was some other interests that we've identified. But I believe we're still looking for a few more individuals to make sure we're rounded out. Again, geographically, I think is really key as we have these conversations, and organizational type and all of that. So want to make sure we have a good, well-rounded group.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over. Now we're going to have a report on the Green Vision Collective Goals. And Brandon Hayes from Bold Bison, who's been, again, another consultant that we brought on here to assist us in connecting with all of our goal groups. Brandon, take it away.
Thanks, Elizabeth. My colleague Patrick, as you know, is on the call too. So if there are any questions also in the chat while we're talking, that would be great. I think we can capture kind of questions and comments both ways, both speaking live into the call and also on the chat. If we go on to the next slide. So one of the things that I think is great from what we just heard from Sharon, thinking in terms of those kind of some of the structural challenges and some of the sort of, with their discovery, looking at the working group and then thinking about what the outside audience is, I am pleased to say that our engagement is beginning to engage with some of that. And you'll see in this slide that comes after, you'll see the words assist, you'll see the words facilitate, you'll see the words help, and because that's sort of what we're here. So really what Bold Bison is doing in our engagement between now and the end of the year is doing capacity expansion. So really kind of helping the goal teams, assisting the Congress planning team to really do some of that deep work. So, some of what PCI has identified and what Sharon was talking about is stuff that it's reconfirming things that CW leadership already knows, and the green vision teams already know. And so we're here to assist and really kind of get into that deep kind of structure to help move things forward in a really robust way. So you see that word assist, and that's where I want to start, and connecting with the goal team chairs, guiding language, metrics, milestones, building on the previous work, building on all the great work of the goal teams to date, building on the discovery process from PCI, and then really identifying some of those models, making sure that JEDI concepts are included, identifying organizations and individuals to potentially be recruited into the goal team, sort of thinking about who needs to be at each of those individual tables, and then helping, essentially project management is a big part of what we are helping to do. So we're not necessarily writing the guidance documents for each goal team. We're like helping the goal teams write their guidance documents and think about what each individual goal team needs, sort of in their own kind of pieces of work and the personalities around that work. I mean, both personalities and also, the sort of nature of the individual work in each of the individual areas. So thinking about those individual needs, and then also what does CW need at a higher level in terms of kind of a standardization for how that work moves forward with an eye on Congress. And that's why this initial piece of work that we're doing, I'll talk about timeline in a moment, is sort of these 6 months, the back half of 2022. If we could go to the next slide. Support, another one of those words, assist, support, facilitate. And so excited actually tomorrow to sit in for the first time on the Congress planning team group, which is going to be really fun to begin to do that work. But again, helping to think about specifically sort of what Congress needs to be, the idea of this sort of half day potentially in November, followed by the field trips in 2023, and how we can build that excitement, learning from what PCI has been, that research that PCI is doing, and then also sort of what each of the goal teams are doing as we launch the Green Vision. So really thinking about sort of how do the goal teams kind of activate into Congress in sort of like this whole kind of network and larger kind of concept around Congress as that goal, and then also facilitating leadership activities. So, reporting out to the steering committee, the executive committee, and then making sure that sort of things are being captured that need to be captured, helping Laura essentially, make sure that everything is moving along in a great way. So that's the sort of key engagement, that's sort of the capacity expansion that we're bringing, which is sort of key to what we see as our role in conservation generally. Next slide on the timeline, please. Okay, so this is a really aggressive timeline, and I want to talk about that because the question that Jim just asked Sharon, and David, what are the realistic kind of achievables here? And I think that there's a couple of things in terms of the timeline that we're talking. I mean, right now we're in this phase one for us, which is setting up meetings, meeting with the individual groups. Thank you to Climate. Hi, Ted, for getting that meeting on the books. Thank you to Patty Vitt for getting, the meeting for managing healthy lands on the books, sort of like kind of beginning to engage in that conversation. So that's what's happening right now. As I mentioned, we're going to begin attending the Congress planning meetings literally tomorrow. And then beginning to think about sort of what do these work plans look like between now and the end of August. So what do each of the individual goal teams need in terms of a work plan? How does this look? Kind of what can we do to think about what the work looks like through the end of the year in 2023, in 2024? Sort of what kind of work plan fits each of the goal teams? And that's this first phase of work. Next slide, please. Thank you. So then in September, it's sort of sharing that out a bit, kind of testing, kind of saying, all right, so do these feel right? They might not be the most, ideal kind of luxury of time to kind of sit in the space and think about what the perfect work plan might be, but that's okay. A work plan can adapt over time. So making sure that we have something robust to begin to work with and begin to move forward. And, this isn't to say that some of the goal teams don't have work plans already. It's sort of thinking about how does this fit into the larger structure? And that's a big piece of what we're going to do. And then how we can identify pieces for the story maps, how that fits into Congress. That's a lot of the thinking that we're brought on to help do and provide that capacity. So that's going to be in September, busy September. If we can move to the next slide, please. Preparing for Congress in October. And obviously we're preparing for Congress starting, now essentially, and even before now. But this is sort of really kind of what actually needs to be done at Congress by each of the goal teams, like what exactly is going to happen, and how are they going to lift that work up? How does that connect to launching, the new green vision, sort of the work that PCI is shaping, and then having Congress. And then the next slide, please. And then sort of debrief, the sort of afterwards, what worked, what didn't, how do we need to adjust, what does it look like going forward, how does this fit into the field trips, what does, the next 6 months, what does the next year look like after that? So again, this is an aggressive timeline, but one of the things that I would ask, this is what I would ask of the executive committee is, if you have staff members who are participating, particularly if they're leading goal team groups, if you who are on this call are leading a goal team group, I think that it's that demonstration, it gets to something that Sharon said, it's that demonstration of support for the work of Chicago Wilderness. So making sure that the staff who are on your teams, who have leadership roles in the goal teams, know that the work that they're doing in Chicago Wilderness in this goal team work is important, and is valued by the organization. And I know that folks know that, but I think it's worthwhile to also reinforce that at this moment as we're trying to coalesce and launch this green new vision, sort of making it something that CW isn't what people are able to turn to sort of when they're done, so it's like Cinderella gets to go to the CW ball if she gets all of her regular organizational chores done. So that's just sort of an ask. That's an easy way, I think, that this group and the folks here in leadership of CW can support that work on the ground is, really reiterating with your teams how important CW is for your organizations, how important CW is for the region, and that prioritization of CW will just go a long way. So that's my little pitch. Any questions about our work or our scope before we move on to the goal teams? Sorry to talk over you, Elizabeth.
Oh, no, you're good. I was just going to say if anybody had any questions for you, so you go.
I'm really looking forward to jumping into Congress planning tomorrow. So
I know. I'm too. tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you all.
Thank you, Brandon. All right, so for our goal groups, we're not necessarily going to go in any order. We've got 7 goal teams in the hub. And so anyone that wants to jump in and give a report of the actionable items and what you've been working on, because there's been a lot of exciting things, and maybe Laura, you got it all spelled out in order. So however you want to drive this.
The only reason I have it spelled out is because there are some meetings coming up and I'm going to be able to drop those information in the chat. So if we want to go in a quick order, but we don't have to linger there.
Okay, all good. All right, go right ahead. So first group, we've got managing healthy landscapes. Patty, I know that you're on the call.
We're meeting early next week, and we're going to be hearing from a speaker about initiative to get rid of calorie pair. Kind of important. In fact, it's one of the things that has come up repeatedly in terms of our invasive species management amongst many people in the group and as well as other groups. So that's coming up next week. I'm hoping that it will help to launch a deeper conversation about CW members really engaging to start a cooperative weed management group in our region. I am hoping also to bring somebody on board from Southern Illinois who is the lead for their cooperative weed management area. But I haven't gotten a confirmation for that yet, but that's the plan for next week. I hope everybody who is available can join us. Thanks.
Thanks, Patty. Does anybody have questions for that goal group? Okay, let's move on to growing with agriculture. Tim.
Thank you so much. So our big amount of work this past few months was on our field day, which we held on June 24th. We had over 50 folks from across the Chicago region, and it was a really terrific mix of folks like you, conservation groups, as well as concerned citizens, farmers. It was really a remarkable gathering. And we visited 5 different types of farms, including an agroforestry operation, an organic operation, a couple of conventional farms. One farm was a conventional farm converting to organic, as well as an agrotourism farm, which was actually way more interesting than we would have thought. But it was a really great day. We struggled to find normal sort of touring buses, so we ended up compromising and getting these party buses, which are the kind where you sort of sit all around in a group. And it turned out to be such an amazing accident because everybody was sort of facing each other and we're able to have really wonderful conversations. We planned on a lot of talking at people during the bus ride around the county, and it ended up we didn't have to do that. We had some great conversations on both of our buses, and I think in seeing some of the feedback we've gotten, that was one of the highlights of the day. But there's been a lot of action since then, a lot of people getting in touch with the farmers and actually pulling them into other opportunities. And we have a tremendous amount of momentum to do this again. So the committee has decided that we're going to focus on Kane County next summer, which is a fascinating county, very different from Will County, very different strategy in lots of ways. They're quite ahead of other counties in the region. And so we're going to start putting that together. Really excited about it. Thanks to everyone, particularly to Laura Riley for her incredible support of this event. We just sent out a survey to folks to get some more feedback to help us refine and perfect this model as we move forward. Just some other things that we're doing. We've looked at our social media strategy. We've looked at our web page and have recommendations on all of that. But that will kind of follow the process that we talked about earlier in this meeting. But we really do want to communicate all the positive and exciting and important things happening in the CW region in agriculture. We got some really good press coverage from our field day. Farm Week picked it up, and then the Illinois Farm Bureau actually released it to the Illinois News Network, which is a statewide network of independent newspapers that share stories. And so we're hoping we get some pickup from that. It's also appeared in a few Forest Preserve District newsletters. So hopefully there'll be some more, but we really want to just start pushing out some of that really valuable information. And then the next thing we're going to do is really continue to focus on innovative conservation ag practices, and start identifying some key metrics and track and develop sort of our monitoring and reporting methods for that. Because even when we thought we sort of knew everything that was going on, we discovered things when we were on farm last month. And so we want to track that and be more precise in our metrics on that so that we can set some realistic goals. If anybody else from the Ag Committee is on, can remind me if I missed anything, but I think that's everything. Okay.
I just want to echo, thank you so much, Tim, for all of your efforts, and Michelle Blackburn and Daniel and Megan Baskerville. It was a really wonderful, well-organized event. You guys did a great job.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely. Oh, Sheree has her hand raised.
Yes, I see that, Sheree.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and say everything I've heard about this day and this tour structure has just been super positive. And I'm hoping we can get a debrief from the team that put the day together, because I think the model will be really useful for future Chicago Wilderness events, including possibly the ones that are connected to Congress. Thanks.
Yeah, and Tim, you didn't even mention the headphones, the headsets that you found were amazing. And if you want to talk about that a little bit, because honestly, that was a game changer. And from an accessibility standpoint, it made such a big difference in the day.
Yeah, so we use these headphones at Farm Foundation. We do similar tours to what we organized in June. And these are just Bluetooth headsets. They're kind of nice because they're also noise blocking, so you don't hear a lot of what's going around you. But you can get up to 50 feet, if not more, away from the speaker. And because you're connected by Bluetooth to their lapel microphone, you can hear them anywhere. So what was really great is when you're on a farm, it's really hard with all the farm noise. We had tractors going and everything else, but everyone could perfectly hear the speaker, plus move around. So we were petting goats and checking out chickens and walking through row crops, but we were all participating and listening and asking questions. And so, yeah, it wasn't terribly expensive to do it, but I think you're right, Laura. It is a game changer, and it really allows for people to participate, but also kind of find their own adventure, which was kind of cool.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, and one other thing is I wanted to mention that Mark Johnston and Darwin Gloria were amazing. They had drone footage and cameras that they really captured the look and feel of the day. And we're going to meet with Maria to sort of debrief on this and figure out what our next steps are in terms of incorporating that footage into future story mapping or other information. So actually, we should discuss just next steps with what we do with this, because we want to be able to use this as sharing the work that the Ag Committee is doing. So
excellent. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Tim, and the group that worked on that field day. It's just great to see this just kind of bubbling up, and a lot of great energy around a new goal initiative. And so clearly action is occurring with great results. So good to see this in all the different groups. So let's go on to our next group that we have here. And Laura, okay, we've got our green infrastructure. Jim, can you take that one?
And I think that's me, right? So we have a couple things that have been happening with this group. The right-of-way component of this team has really been off and running. Sarah Race has been helping lead that charge with, as well as others. And they've got a series of cafes that are currently ongoing. And so I think there's one even today, right? And that's moving along. That's quite good. the other components on the team includes Maggie, and Maggie's on the steering committee as well. Maggie's been leading the charge, looking at engagement with watersheds and how we kind of dovetail into some of that activity that's already ongoing. And then we have plans and strategies and actually funding, hopefully, to help us support developing, the green goals and the initiatives that we have. I'll be transitioning over some of those activities to some other on my team as well, and working with Laura to help kind of dovetail across the transition. But got some good progress in some areas, and we're still moving along on the others as well. Laura, did you want to add anything, Laura?
No, I wanted to agree, and thank you, Jim, because due to the grant that we received from Nicor Gas, we are really going to incorporate some of the accessibility aspects, and we were able to provide some scholarships for the Growing with Ag field days for folks to allow them to attend without purchasing a ticket, which was wonderful. And also just in terms of the looking at the headphones for future work, that's really been really valuable. So I wanted to thank you directly for that.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. All right, so our next group we've got, if I'm correct here, we've got our Conserving Land for Biodiversity, and Kathy's not with us, Ben's not with us, so I don't know, Michelle, if you have any update.
I don't, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay, Laura, anything on that one?
No, I don't have any updates from that group at this time, but I'm sure we will be hearing more as 30 by 30 moves forward, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
So Elizabeth, I do know that they sent out a request to people that have been involved with the work group to divide up into different tactics. And so I think they're thinking about that. One of them was to identify, criteria for identifying important lands. Another one was thinking about how we would pay for that. So they are developing some work groups underneath the work group. So that's where I think they stand.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate the additional information there. Okay, our next one is increasing equitable access to nature. And I know Tish and Amy, I know Amy's not here today, but Radhika, Laura, anything else from this group?
Yeah, so just quickly to recap from their last meeting, they had the Gary Community Partnership representative there, Jeffrey, and he did an amazing job talking about the work that's going on there. So their model is that they have a community spotlight on a group or an individual. And the next meeting will be September 23rd. I put the link in the chat, and I hope you can join us. But these have been really inspiring models for the work that they're doing.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, goal 6, Ted, taking climate action.
Hey, thanks. So the updates are, our leadership group had meetings every 2 weeks. We're now 1 week for the summer. We have our next meeting coming up Monday. A number of things on the plate. I'm helping, the climate committee is helping with the webinar this afternoon. We have our own, cafe this afternoon. We have our own cafe next week where we're starting to tackle mitigation. And that's going to be really exciting because this is the one goal that we actually own ourselves. So we're going to have Cook County Forest Preserves present on their climate planning tool. We're going to have the Morton Arboretum give an update on their planning to date, because they have a plan that they've been putting in place over the last year that will work for sort of medium-sized partners. And then we're going to talk about small organizations and what tools to use in terms of calculating carbon or greenhouse gas emissions so that we can understand our relationship between our emissions and the work we do and lead as an industry, because we feel that's important. So that's really exciting. We had a meeting with the Midwest Climate Collaborative, which is a new-ish organization. They're 2 years old, but they now have a home at Washington University in St. Louis. So they're doing a barn tour to undertake work and frame their outflows and workflows. So we've met with them. And we're really trying to connect. We also have a couple proposals out for speaking of sort of engagement to get some of the younger professionals working in our group to help them in their own state of their careers as an opportunity to get them involved in networking and connected. And then the last thing we have is the Bold Bison meeting on August 1st and 2nd, where we're going to try to get a couple other people in that group besides me, because I tend to represent too much and talk too much. That's basically the update that I have, and I can take any questions.
Lots of stuff going on, but thanks for all you do, Ted. It's really.
Thank you. A very active group. A lot of great work. Okay, and the last goal that we have is our water group. Matthew, I believe I saw you on the Zoom screen here. Or Jerry, are you
Is Matthew with us? Matthew, are you there? I have notes from him. I was under the impression he wasn't going to be with us.
I don't see him at this time, no.
Okay,
Oh, no, I'm here.
Yeah, oh, great. Sorry.
He might have been here earlier, but so I have some notes.
Okay.
At the group.
I actually think Matthew's here. I think Matthew's here.
Oh, Matthew.
I am, yeah.
Oh, Matthew, then if you'd give I'd rather you give your notes. I read them. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. So, okay. As with other groups, we met with PCI and just went over goal participation and got a lot of communications insights in that regard. We met with US EPA Office of Water staff who were involved with the Healthy Watersheds program and gained a lot of insights from their own experience dealing with looking at creating an index on a regional scale. It was reassuring and a bit funny to see that they hit some of the same hurdles that we have, and they had some really great advice as to how to move past that, and also shared a group of metrics that they had identified as being most relevant to Region 5. So I'm sure that those will end up informing our own suite of metrics as well. Similarly, we met with CMAP staff involved with the green infrastructure vision and discussed a lot about data sources and creating approaches across a region where you're able to standardize everything, because, you know, obviously that's another important aspect here. Next up, we'll be reconvening the goal group and working to identify a smaller group of volunteers who will be willing to take a more active role in advancing this.
Thank you, Matthew. That's really great. I would really advise reaching out to Maggie Solis, because she has been really thinking about the watershed approach from the green infrastructure side of it. And I think that her perspective would be valuable.
Maggie Solis, you said?
Yes. I can connect you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyone else have any questions for Matthew on the water goal? All right, well, thank you, everyone.
John has his.
Okay, John.
Yeah, thanks. I just a sort of comment and observations based on all of the presentations we've heard so far. You know, Sharon, and then Brandon, and then all the goal leads. It's been very helpful for me to get in my own mind a snapshot of all the work going on. And you know, Sharon, and I don't know if she's still on, but she shared some feedback from her survey work. And a couple of things I picked up on is some thought there was not enough action happening. Another comment is a lot of people were unclear of who we were, who we are. In other words, what is our identity, I think. I mean, two parts to that. One is some people have never heard the word Chicago wilderness before, but it seems like there was some confusion even among some members about who we are and what we stand for and that kind of thing. And of course, Elizabeth, you commented that there is in fact a lot of action going on. And I think that really came out from all of the goal lead presentations here. I was very impressed by it, and it's great stuff. But as I thought about that, it's, so far it's been kind of a lot of activity, which is all good for lots of reasons. Information sharing is tremendous in building sort of consensus around issues. It's, call it tech transfer. It's all good, but I think the question though is, what does it roll up to, which then becomes our identity? Does it roll up to a focused strategy that effects some kind of change that we want to see? And then I jumped to Brandon's presentation, and a couple of things the two things that jumped out of me that he's helping the goal teams work on is further developing and refining the goals, metrics, milestones, and importantly, co-developing an implementation work plan and a timeline. And then secondly, the one that jumped out at me from Brandon was developing model projects that highlight outcomes. And in my mind, I don't think I can overstate how important I think it is that at the Congress, we use those two things to define our identity, because we're going to be defined by what we say we're going to do and then what we're actually preparing to do. By those actions, that will become our identity. So I think we really need to focus on that and make sure that we don't miss a beat at the opportunity that the Congress presents to create our identity. And I think, and we've talked about this before, that's going to be especially important, I think, if we still have any hope of securing external, for instance, foundation support or other outside funding. They want to know who we are, what we're going to do. And we have this one shot here coming up to really define who we are and what we're going to do. So, so I just wanted to share that with everybody. That was kind of what struck me about today's presentation so far.
John, well done. Thank you. Appreciate you threading that through of all the areas. And yes, it's more than just action. It's right. How are we measuring our successes and telling our story? Because there's a lot to share, but it's bringing it, weaving it together. And so grateful to have everybody here doing that and the consultants that we've engaged to help because we've got a big lift here and to really elevate this opportunity in front of us. So anybody else? With comments. All right, well, very good. And again, the green vision is so key and more to be coming and news as we plan forward. I would now I'm going to turn it over. Mike is not with us this morning, but Jim, our vice chair, is going to run through the draft budget with you. And just for those that are new to the Alliance or new to the structure, there is a steering committee, but the steering committee basically is there to help run the behind the scenes, to help organize and structure and provide some guiding principles, but we don't have the ability or power to do anything. It's this body, it's the members, the partners that allow us. So the control is with everyone here today. So Jim, why don't you go ahead and lead us through what's been drafted and presented to the steering committee to bring forward to this group.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm pinch hitting for our colleague here, but for the fiscal year 2023 budget, roughly speaking, from a revenue perspective, the inbound, dollars to the organization, we more or less kept the dues structure flat. So they're similar to what we had done in the past. We do have some sponsorships and donations that are included in that revenue top line. So Elizabeth had mentioned Nicor Gas has some grants that we've been able to secure and putting that in there. We have other grants from IDNR that are coming in as well. And there might be some other donations. We are looking for donations specific to a number of the activities that we have got ongoing. So that's kind of the top line revenue part. And there's more activity, more need than we have revenue. So we are pulling from our reserves, and that would be to the tune of about $89,000 to round out the total revenues that we need to operate for the 2023 budget. Then when you look at what are we doing, what are we going to be doing in this next year? And bottom line, we have carryover activities from the JEDI work that we had done last year. And that's going to be a component of what we engage in. We have the tours and the efforts that we're gonna continue after the Congress, right? That we've talked a little bit about that. Those are going to continue onward. We are not doing, we don't have Congress budgeted in 2023 because that's an off year, but we do have the excellence in ecological restoration and force of nature that is going to take place. So we have a budget for that. Normal expenses, that sort of thing. We've had some cost of living increases, right? For salary and that kind of thing for Laura, whatnot. And then we have significant, outlay, or at least some placeholder work for following up on the PCI recommendations. We just heard, a couple presentations ago about, overhauling the website or other kinds of things. So we've got a plug in there for those follow-up that we determined we need to do. So we've got some money set aside for that. Money set aside for the other activities to follow up with JEDI, as I mentioned before, and supporting the gold teams, and some money set aside for each of the team to be able to implement and do some work, maybe not unlike the things we heard about for the agricultural team that reported out. And then, of course, significant amount of money and dollars set aside for the communications and the outreach efforts that we've been talking about overall. So it's a pretty beefy budget. We think we've covered those aspects of the work that we're trying to accomplish in 2023, and still have a nice reserve, right? The reserve is still in the tune of $330,000. So we still have, money in the bank for the rainy day, and we can have continued to pull from that bank account over the last few budget cycles to make sure that we're applying the revenues and the resources that we have developed to try and make a difference. So I think it's a nice balance to what we're trying to accomplish. Did I miss anything, Elizabeth or Laura?
No, I think you've highlighted the key part is what we've seen over the last several years is those investments towards projects and initiatives and the green vision, bringing on the work and then supporting the group. So, and you're seeing more of that this upcoming year to continue on. So you did a very nice job of outlining kind of what we have drafted. I guess we would open any comments or thoughts or any additional things that we did not include that we should be considering as we go forward into next year. This is a draft budget, then the final one will come back in October. So it still has room for some adjustments. I'm not seeing any hands or
No, I might add that, some of those donations that we're expecting, for instance, for those field trips and those events that we've got planned, we do have plugged in there that, like some funding for the lunch or the funding for the buses and that sort of thing to help offset some of that cost. So there's to the tune of about $40,000 worth of that kind of activity over the entire year, which we think will be be able to secure.
Yeah, so sponsorships, et cetera, we'll be looking for and ways to support and helping as we get some of these packages through the Congress on to some foundation support. And again, Jim, I can't say enough the support we've received from NICOR and obviously US Forest Service and IDNR and everyone that's helped with our JEDI work. It's been amazing, as well as all of our partners. So thank you. So with that, if I hear no other conversations or questions on the draft budget, I just would request a motion to accept the draft budget as presented.
I will make that motion, Jim Anderson.
Jim, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Jack Brunner.
Thank you, Jack. All right, any further discussion on the budget? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the draft budget as presented, motion by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, nay. Okay, the draft budget is presented and this will be back in front of everybody in October. So if there's other ideas or things that you think of between now and then, please do not hesitate to share those ideas. And as the goal groups are working on things, to share that forward as well. All right, we're going to move now, Cherie, to talk about Conservation Congress, the big event that's up and coming. Cherie, are you still with us?
May have lost her.
She's
Oh no, she's here. She's here. I see her.
He is on mute.
I just.
Cherie?
Maybe we can come back to Cherie.
Okay, so let's, and I don't know.
Oh,
if-
actually,
yeah.
yes, we don't have Raquel yet either. So we could.
All right, well, let's go by these. We'll go by the Congress. We'll come back and we'll come back to JEDI once Raquel gets on, because I know she was going to be with us at 11. So we're a little bit early. So let's go on to recognition here. And so some individuals that have provided service to the Alliance, friends and colleagues that we've known over the many years. Linda Lancaster, who is retiring from the National Park Service, but is staying engaged and assisting in many capacities as we plan for the Congress. And we appreciate all the great work that she's done. Lynn Westfall from US Forest Service, again, is retiring, and wish her well. Bob McGuire from Open Lands, again, retiring. And then Jim, who has served as vice chair and the lead of corporate counsel for so many years, is going to be leaving NICOR Gas to pursue a dream that he has. And I just want to thank, and I'll let Jim, you kind of speak to that, but I just want to thank you and everyone, but particularly Jim, for your service and leadership over the years. It's almost been 2 decades and has been there right along the way as we went through transition, has very much facilitated stewardship, not only in working through all the groups and all the volunteer efforts that he's given, but also back to NICOR Grass and to really make our vision a reality. And I just, I'm going to miss you immensely. And just thank you so much on behalf of the Alliance for all that you've provided to us over the years. And hopefully you don't go too far and we can keep you connected in our work that we're doing. So Jim, maybe you can share with everybody kind of where you're headed.
Yeah, no, thank you, Elizabeth, for those kind words. And I really do appreciate it. It's been, 19 years really that I've been engaged. I stepped into Chicago Wilderness through the door of corporate counsel and promptly became the chair of that corporate council and probably chaired that for 15 years or so, pivoting, of course, through up to the vice chair role. And I was treasurer for a while, whatnot. So through those turbulent times of transition, which I remember, Laura, you and I printed out a stack of invoices that we mailed out one year. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it's been really such a joy. My day job obviously is doing something different than this, but it's always been a passion of mine. And I am really happy that we've been able to evolve at NICOR Gas to a place where we can partner with the likes of Chicago Wilderness in a more sustainable and longer fashion through the grant process that we've developed. so that's exciting to me. I feel like I'm leaving things in good hands and with some legacy there to carry on. I am not leaving the area necessarily, but I am leaving the industry. I'm going to go chase a dream, like Elizabeth said. I'm going to go work for my church. And some of you may know, but myself and my wife, we usually travel to Bangladesh and India on mission work that we do with our church. And I'm going to be leading that whole mission group at our church. So managing all of our partners around the world and coordinating our teams that go and strategy, domestic and international. So it's pretty exciting. My plan A is to jump into that with both feet. And so such, I've been kind of like cutting back on the other kind of opportunities I have today. And so the door is kind of closed, but it's, it's not totally closed. So as Elizabeth said, as I gets established and set up, maybe I'll come pop back in and see what I can do. But hopefully handing it over to, obviously very capable team, and it's so exciting what we're doing. You got a good partner with Nightcore Gas, and I hope that, I left it a little bit better than when I came. So I appreciate that, Elizabeth. I appreciate working with everyone here. It's been a joy. It's been really a passion of mine. And, probably one of the more emotional parts of detaching has been, leaving this group. But thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity to say that, and best of wishes to everybody.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. We're going to miss you. Thank you for all that you've done. Anybody else, John, and anybody else that wanted to make any comments? Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody, and best of luck to those that are retiring. Which I'm going to move right in before we go back up, as we have time here. It brings me to the next conversation of nominations. And we will be establishing a nominations committee to look at for terms that are up. So with Jim vacating his seat early, we will be looking for someone to step into the vice chair role. And this is an important role. I am serving as chair in my second term. And so that vice chair, and it doesn't always necessarily be that they move into the chair, but finding someone that is going to be a leader that can help guide the organization going forward, the network, the alliance is key. I do know Nathaniel has expressed an interest, Michelle and Leslie, for continuing on. They are in their first term, and so they, per our policies and procedures, can continue on for a second term if the alliance will be agreeable to that, and they're eager to serve, which leaves us then with one at-large position that will also be looking for an individual to serve. So the nominations process, if you have an interest in being considered, or please do reach out. We will establish that nominations group and doing some recruitment to ensure that we fill those positions. As far as the vice chair position, according to the procedures, is the steering committee then can determine to move someone up into that position from the steering committee on a temporary basis until we go through the election, which will occur after the October meeting. We'll bring you the slate, and then they'll take office in January. So again, please step forward. And this is all through the cycle that we have everybody with even cycling in for 3 years and having a basically equal transition, so it all doesn't happen on the same year, right? So we are sustainable.
Thank you to Maria. She dropped the nominations form into the chat. So if anybody would like to nominate themselves or one of their colleagues, please use this form to do so.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll go back. If Sharia is there, we'll go back to Congress. Sharia, are you with us?
I am. Sorry about that. I stepped
No
away for a
worries.
minute. So yeah, we have a Congress planning meeting tomorrow, as Brendan mentioned earlier. If anyone wants to join the Congress planning team, there are plenty of roles available. We are still thinking through the content and selecting locations for tours that will be connected with Congress, but will actually happen in 2023. So as it says on the slide, Congress is Thursday, November 3rd It's expected to be a half-day event. A lot has not been finalized or nailed down, so there's still a lot of wiggle room if people have ideas about how to present content in an engaging way, or how to promote the field trips that will happen in 2023. Please reach out to me or Laura. That's all I have to say at this time.
Cherie, thank you, and thank you for all of your great work as you help guide us to plan this great event for November.
Sure.
Any questions for Cherie on Congress? If you've got thoughts or ideas and want to help, she'll be glad to have you join the group. A lot of good there. Okay, Raquel Garcia has joined us, and she's with the Forest Preserve District of Cook County, and she is co-chairing our Jedi Roadmap. Raquel.
Hi everyone, buenos días, ¿cómo están? So thank you, Elizabeth. I just want to give a brief update of what the Jedi group has been doing. As you know, the Alliance is in phase 3 of our Jedi project with Cream City Conservation. As you may remember, phase 1 was the Culture and Diversity Survey to help establish the benchmark of how we are doing in cultivating belonging and equity among both the Chicago Wilderness Alliance and individual partner organizations. And I have to say, I'm a program coordinator with the Forest Preserves of Cook County, and we have benefited a lot from those survey results. We've been using it to reiterate the importance of working on making the forest preserves better internally. So I just want to say thank you to Chicago Wilderness for doing that survey, because we had about 100 forest preserve staff fill it out to really give us that input, and we appreciated that it was anonymous and throughout, and then we could compare the data to the Chicago Wilderness data overall. And the second phase of working with Cream City Conservation was on the wonderful racial equity training series that many Chicago Wilderness members participated in. And this is now the third phase of creating this justice, equity, and diversity roadmap. You can go to the next slide, please. So people who are helping to lead this third phase are different individuals from different geographic regions of Chicago Wilderness. We have Elizabeth, of course, and Laura, and myself from Cook County Forest Preserves. And then we have Beatriz Cañas from Chicago Botanic Garden, Tashida Daniel from Chicago Park District, Danny Abad from Brushwood Center in Lake County, and then Leslie Dorworth from the Illinois-Indiana Sea Grant from that partnership. So we have a wonderful group of ladies who are really interested in moving the Chicago Wilderness Alliance forward. And as we've been working with Cream City Conservation, you know, we started having like these really important conversations of what can the Alliance do to move forward everyone and to help amplify the work that we're doing. And there was a lot of energy when we did the surveys around awareness, advocacy, engagement, and accessibility. So we wanted to test it out. And if you go to the next slide, we asked our members, hey, is this where we should be focusing our energy on? And we got an overwhelming response of yes. About 90 people responded to the short 5-minute survey. I know Laura just put it in the chat. So if you would like to contribute your input, there's still time. We had 77% say yes, awareness and advocacy was important, and accessibility, over 55% said yes. And then for engagement, over 62% said yes. And people said, you know, with accessibility, their organizations are thinking about neurodivergency and how do you provide language access like ASL to make their programming more welcoming and more accessible. So these are just some of the focus areas that we're these are the three main focus areas that we're going to amplify the work moving forward. And there is still time to get involved, because as part of this survey, you can say if you would like to be part of this group, because even though we're helping to lead the charge, we still need other people to join our small working groups that are going to be focusing on these three areas. So the next slide, please. So with that, our next steps are to finalize the goals within the three focus areas, as I mentioned, because we have a lot of energy around, emerging, how do we engage emerging young professionals? How do we provide professional development opportunities for people who are becoming supervisors or who have been in a supervisory role? For accessibility, as I mentioned, ASL is becoming a bigger and greater need. And then because of the demand, there's lots of work to be done. So that's why we're creating these sub working groups, so that way people can help carry the work forward. And we're modeling this. And to give you an example of how we're modeling this, like think about how successful the Chicago Wilderness prescription burn training has been, and that certification for the region, where now it's recognized as a valid certificate throughout the region, with many partner organizations where you can have the red card training or the Chicago Wilderness. And a lot of organizations help to prepare that prescription burn curriculum, and now it's being utilized. So that's kind of one of the models that we're utilizing of how Chicago Wilderness the Alliance can continue to be a resource and help to bring the partner organizations forward, just in case, because we recognize that everyone is starting at a different point in the journey. With the forest preserves of Cook County, we have the most biodiversity in the state of Illinois and the most cultural diversity in Illinois. So we recognize that we may be further ahead because we are trying to serve and serve these diverse populations. So with that, I think I have a couple of minutes in case people have any questions, or if you have any thoughts, you can put them in the chat. And again, I encourage you to fill out the survey if you haven't, or to share it amongst your staff so they can share their input and voice if they would like to be involved with and join our group in such a matter. Yeah, and I have to say, working with August Ball from Crim City Conservation has been really great. I was part of the first working group with the survey, and there were times where I was thinking, is this question really going to get the response that we want? And she's like, you need to trust the process. Don't worry, we're wording them in a positive way. And then when we got the data, it was exactly what we needed. So.
Yeah, thanks so much for your leadership and from the start of this, Raquel, and for staying with us. We have all learned a lot together and have, more work to do, but it's been really great to have your leadership.
I echo that. No, it's been wonderful, and it's a great group that's really looking, and we're looking to have everybody participate. As this roadmap is being developed and our work with August kind of leading us through, we'll be then back with a presentation at our October meeting of the roadmap, looking for support and feedback, and adopting that with some action steps that, just like the goal groups are working towards, and having that ready to roll for Congress as well. So a really exciting opportunity to make sure that our reach as we work towards the biodiversity of the region, as you mentioned, that our people diversity and that goal 5 group, that access for all is really important. So thank you.
Great. All right. Well, again, feel free to email me or Laura or Elizabeth, and please fill out the survey. And I thank everyone for your time. Okay. Hasta luego. Bye.
All right, so that brings us, any other working groups that happen to be on, because we have others, not just the goal groups. We've got government, and we've got other activities. I know we've heard a lot from everyone today. Anybody else that has any updates that you'd like to share?
Actually, Mary Beth, I think that, oh, Michelle and Mary Beth are here from the Government Relations Committee. So if you wanted to do a quick update on the work that's been happening there, that would be great, because Alicia is not with us today.
Sure. Hi, everyone. We have been continuing to meet with Alicia and reviewing requests that come in. A couple months ago, we did our drone cafe, which went well. And I think moving forward, we want to do more cafes, and again, are really open to people participating. Mary Beth, is there anything else I should add?
No, I think that sums it up. We continue to meet regularly, and if anyone has any thoughts on subjects that you would like to see, please let Michelle or I or Alicia know.
Great, thank you, Michelle and Mary Beth. And again, appreciate the opportunity for us to push information out on upcoming advocacy efforts and to being able to use the resources of the Alliance to get that out to all of our members and partners. Okay, any other working groups? Otherwise, we'll go ahead, Laura, on coordinator's report.
Okay, thank you. You know, we really wanted to thank everybody for the work that they've done this year. The cafe series has been really active in the last few weeks and months, and we have some other great things that are planned for the fall. I just put a link in the chat of some of the resources that we have there. I think I didn't hit return, but all of our cafes are on our website, and I encourage you to review those and watch them and share with anybody on your staff as you feel that they might be relevant and useful. And I also want to put a plug in for our Career Center. I know that recruitment and retention is a big issue among all of our partner organizations, and it's something that we are going to be working on both through our JEDI process, but as we're looking to engage the emerging professionals within our organizations. It's a topic of conversation that I know that we're going to be looking at for Congress, that we're going to be working on through all of our member engagement process. So take a look at our Career Center, and if you have job openings at your organization, you can enter them directly and I'll be able to roll them right on. Maria periodically puts posts out on social media sharing this, and so it's just an iterative process that I welcome your feedback and participation on. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. The other announcement that I have before we get into regular announcements is that the steering committee meeting and the goal groups, we've been meeting monthly, and we're going to plan to have our September meeting on September 26th in Indiana. And I did have the opportunity, and Victoria, I want to thank you for inviting Chicago Wilderness. I saw a lot of members there, but really the engagement of, we've got a strong Illinois contingent group that's part of the Alliance. And we have a strong Indiana group too, that we could see from your leadership over there, and want to build that up into Wisconsin and then into Michigan. But Victoria, I just want to say thank you, and Leslie and Nathaniel that are representing our Indiana cohorts, that you're with us and helping to advance and really make sure that we're all part of the Alliance together. So again, thank you for hosting and including us in that. So we'll be looking forward to that, and hopefully those will be able to join us. So at this time, and we are doing well, any announcements from your organization, or this is your time, just go ahead, raise your hand, step in and do a shout out, or let everybody know what you have going on in your area. Oh, there's news. There's gotta be news.
I'll offer some news from Indiana.
Okay.
Thank you for the kind remarks, Elizabeth. It was a joy to have both you and Laura at the Northwest Indiana Urban Waters Partnership meeting last week. Everyone in Chicago Wilderness is welcome to join in these quarterly meetings. Our next meeting is October 20th via Zoom from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. We will have partner presentations from the Indiana Dunes National Park, who are working on a mussel reintroduction project. And we'll also hear from a professor at Indiana University Northwest who has developed a robust internship program that supplies lots of our conservation partners with wonderful students and interns to do work throughout the year. It's her GLISTEN program. And then similar to the Chicago Wilderness meetings, there's an opportunity for all partners who attend to share announcements and updates from their organization. So please do reach out to me if you'd like to be added to our contact list, get our monthly newsletters, and I would love to see you at our next partnership meeting.
Thank you, Victoria. Anyone else with your hand up? Any announcements? I do have just on the legislative advocacy, government relations, the Illinois Environmental Council this afternoon at 3 o'clock is hosting a forum relative to river access. There's been some discussion in general with some recent legislation, and I know all of us in many areas that look for canoeing, kayaking, and then private lands and access. So that is this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Anyone that's interested, I can put the link out there and just, but that is going on just to frame it and then what we potentially need to be looking at. So should be a pretty interesting discussion. Anything else? All right, well, thank you, everyone. Again, appreciate all of your leadership and contributions to our great work here and our green vision here at Chicago Wilderness. I hope everybody remains safe and enjoys the remainder of the summer. Jim, thank you again for your service, and we will see everybody again. Hopefully you can join us in Indiana in September. Otherwise, we'll see you in October, and then again, November is Congress. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Motion
Elizabeth.
to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.